Attention 5 Points residents. This is a community notification of a new sexually violent predator in your area. Please stay tuned to the following short program for more information.
Hi, I'm Technician Ron Hackett with the Denver Police Department. The Sex Offender Registration and Compliance Unit at DPD is responsible for the registration, monitoring, and tracking of all registered sex offenders and sexually violent predators who live in the city and county of Denver. Here's a brief history of sex offender legislation in Colorado. Our state laws trickle down from federal government mandates. In 1994, we had the Jacob Wetterling Act, which mandated that states would establish a sex offender list. Megan's Law of 1996 said that the public would have access to those sex offender registration lists. The Pam Lichner Act of 1996 stated that some offenders might have to have lifetime registrations. And the Adam Walsh Act of 2006 unified sex offender laws across the country. In Colorado, the legislature has determined that sexually violent predators, by definition, pose a higher risk to the community at large, and therefore mandated that upon their release from the Department of Corrections, the community must be notified. Sex offender notification in Colorado happens in two ways. The first is passive and ongoing through the sex offender registration process, which is a list maintained by local police departments. The second way is active, via community notification for those offenders determined to be sexually violent predators by the courts or by the parole board. Most sex offenders in Colorado are supervised by the criminal justice system in our communities. Most sex offenders engage in crossover behavior, which means they may have been arrested for one type of crime, but be apt to commit another. Many sex offenders have no criminal history at all prior to their arrest. There is no typical sex offender, but all tend to be deceptive, manipulative, and secretive. 80 to 93% of sex offenses are committed by someone known to the victim. Sexual deviancy begins in mid to late adolescence. Sex offenses are not impulsive. They are usually carefully planned, and most sex offenders are male. The community has a vested interest in helping offenders to be successfully managed in the community. Sex offenders have the same need for housing and employment as any other citizen. Any citizen who uses sex offender information to harass, threaten, or intimidate an offender will be subject to criminal prosecution. There are approximately 16,500 registered sex offenders in the state of Colorado. About 65% of convicted sex offenders are placed in the community on probation. The remainder are in the Department of Corrections or Community Corrections. Offenders may be caught for one type of offense, but be at a high risk to commit another type. Crime of conviction is only one indicator of risk. A sexually violent predator must register with the Denver Police Department Sex Offender Registration Unit every 3 months for the rest of their life. The offender's residence must be verified quarterly by the Denver Police Department. The full sex offender registration list is available by calling the Denver Police Department Identification Bureau at 720-913-6756. Convicted felons and those with multiple convictions are posted online at denvergov.org/police. Remember, sexually violent predators do not represent all dangerous sex offenders. The community notification process and sex offender registration are not a complete deterrent to sexual assault. Now, here's a look at the newest sexually violent predator living in Denver.
Here's an overview of the registered sex offenders currently living in Denver. There are 2,384 total living within city limits. In Denver Police District 6, there are 431. Precinct 612 has 119 registered sex offenders. Of those, 90 have felony convictions and 29 have misdemeanor convictions. Michael John Hernandez is a sexually violent predator currently living in Denver. He's 51 years old and was born on September 4, 1973. He's a Hispanic male, 5 feet 7 inches tall, 205 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. He's currently living as a transient near the 1900 block of 29th Street in the 5 Points neighborhood of Denver. Schools located within 1 mile of this offender. Denver School of Science and Technology, Cole Middle School and High School at 3240 Humboldt Street. Cole Arts and Science Academy at 1350 East 33rd Avenue. Garden Place Elementary at 4425 Lincoln Street. University Prep Arapahoe Street at 2409 Arapahoe Street. Gilliam School at 2844 Downing Street. Denver Language School Gilpin Campus at 2949 California Street. Rise Up Community School at 2342 Broadway. Annunciation Catholic School at 3536 North Lafayette Street. Montessori Academy of Colorado at 2500 Curtis Street. Parks located within 1 mile of this offender. Stout Street Children's Park, Commons Park, Quick Park, Franco Park, Highland Gateway Park, Morrison Park, Community Plaza Park, Denver Skate Park, Mestizo Curtis Park, St. Charles Place Park, Maestas Park, Lawson Park, St. Patrick's Neighborhood Park, City of Cuernavaca Park, Williams Park, Rail Yard Dog Park, Ciencio Park, La Raza Park, Globeville Landing Park, Arkins Park, Arkins Promenade, 44th and Pearl Park, Broadway Triangles. Recreation centers located within 1 mile of this offender. Globeville Rec Center at 4496 Grant Street, St. Charles Rec Center at 3777 Lafayette Street, Glenarm Rec Center at 2800 Glenarm Place, 20th Street Rec Center at 1011 20th Street. Bus routes located within 1 mile of this offender. Route 48, Brighton Boulevard and 29th Street, Brighton Boulevard and 31st Street, Brighton Boulevard and 33rd Street. Route 8, 31st Street and Ringsby Court, Platte Maintenance Lot, Platte Employee Lot. Route 38, Park Avenue West and Globeville Road. A brief history of sex offense-related convictions for this offender. Attempted sexual assault on a child. He's currently on parole and last registered with the Denver Police Department on October 3, 2024, as a transient living near the 1900 block of 29th Street in the Five Points neighborhood of Denver. Additional charges against this offender include child abuse, assault, domestic violence, robbery, fraud, driving under the influence, obstruct police, resisting arrest, receiving stolen property, property damage, harassment, shoplifting, possessed marijuana, making a false report, parole violation. Michael John Hernandez has been determined a sexually violent predator after meeting the following criteria. Criteria 1, age 18 or older on the date of the offense, or under 18 and tried as an adult. The offender was age 45 at the time of the offense. Criteria 2, the crime must have been committed on or after July 1, 1997 and convicted on or after July 1, 1999. Crimes include sexual assault, felony unlawful sexual contact, sexual assault on a child by a person in a position of trust. The offender was convicted on September 5, 2018 for attempted sexual assault on a child. Criteria 3, the relationship to the victim was one of the following. Victim was a stranger to the offender, or the offender established or promoted a relationship with the victim primarily for the purpose of sexual victimization. The 15-year-old female victim was known to the offender. Criteria 4, positive results or the passing of a risk assessment instrument administered by probation parole staff and a qualified treatment evaluator. Positive results include an assessment for the presence of a mental abnormality, a level of denial regarding the offense, treatment appropriateness and motivation, presence of sexual deviant interests. The offender was evaluated by the Gilpin County Courts with positive results, determining him to be a sexually violent predator.